Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
Una, I have some third party news for you that's hot off the Twitter press. It's got that newspaper smell to it.
Ooh.
The ink is hot. It is wonderful.
Ooh, smells like not Dunkin' Donuts.
Nope, this is
the cheaper alternative.
Oh no, this is like the prime Fire Cakes donuts hot off the press is what we got.
Damn. Okay.
So as of today, Joe Bishop Henchman, that is his real goddamn name, the national chairman of the Libertarian Party, has resigned. Citing, quote, toxic people at every level of the party.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, bro. That's what you signed up for.
I know. It's like you've heard shit. Like, just as an example, Arvin Vohra, I think he used to be the chairman of the Maryland Libertarians. He just has a whole history of things. His most notable is that he wants to get rid of the age of consent because it's a government decree about when someone becomes an adult, and the government shouldn't be deciding that. And he's tweeted about it on the fucking state party Twitter. Like, you knew what this was about, man. Like,
no.
If you've been to a libertarian convention, you've seen toxic people there, and then Gary Johnson tries his best. I was floored by this because I don't know if he was just trying to really unite this party, recognizing that in a post-Trump world, this might be their best chance to scoop up some disillusioned people.
Yeah.
And all he got was just every single person in the state party of the Libertarians either saying sensible libertarian shit, quote unquote, or just bonkers nonsense.
Right. Or pedophilia as a platform.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying we should fuck them. I'm just saying that, numbers don't dictate when people should work.
It was like, was he in therapy for something else? Like his marriage was on the rocks. And then once he started like really talking out and really learning healthy behavior, communication, was it just like he got like accidentally red pilled back into reality?
Oh my God, if only. Like I just read the headline to this an hour ago. I probably should have read the article, but I started laughing.
They wouldn't, so fuck it.
Yeah, I started laughing when I saw the phrase toxic people at every level, and I just stopped before we started recording.
It's like, yeah,
it's
you're
like,
right.
I don't know what to tell you, bro, but love your hyphenate last name. It's really great because it kind of sounds like your name is Joe Bishop and you are a professional henchman, but for the Libertarian Party, which I don't know what they would have you do. Because like a henchman indicates a level of authority, and the last I checked, the Libertarians aren't super keen on authority, so are you just like, are you an assistant if you're a henchman?
Bishop Henchman also sounds like a D&D class.
I dual class as a Bishop Henchman.
Yeah.
Like it's Father Ted's nemesis, it's Bishop Henchman.
You're a cleric, but you also need to be a tank at times.
Oh my God. It's like part rogue, part bard, kind of. It's very strange, but very overpowered. But few people ever choose both. So to Joe Bishop Henchman, may flights of angels sing thee to thy rest, or wherever your next adventure takes you.
Yeah, Godspeed, and call us if you want to talk this out more.
Oh my God. And so on that, I think it's probably good that we hop back into the story of Pedro Espada Jr.
Pedro!
Good old Pedro is all right. I was playing a game with myself earlier today where I'm like, what all did he do? And then I started to realize the summary is going to be about as long as the last episode.
Oh my God. But the summary can just be, listen, he's so angry. He wanted to be a boxer. Mm-hmm. He didn't become a boxer. And instead he fights with words and rampant pettiness.
Yeah, like no victory is good enough for this guy. It has to be a total victory or he just cannot stop. Yeah, so he was a state senator in New York. He was a member of the New York City Council for a little bit. Then he was a state senator again for a little bit, consistently fighting with the local Bronx County Democrats. His big claim to fame is that he was a man from outside the system. He created a hospital system within the Bronx, which desperately needed a hospital at the time, and was such a pain in the ass for the Bronx Democrats that when a space opened up, rather than continue to fight him, they said, the seat's yours if you want it. And that still was not enough.
Right.
And so in 1996, under allegations that he might have stolen $70,000 from an HMO, which he eventually got acquitted for, instead of the party being like, oh, we're dropping you because of that, they're like, you are fighting with us too much and causing too much division, so we're going to support someone else and use our lawyers to get you kicked out of the primary election.
To which I'm sure Pedro was like, you haven't even seen me fight.
And so he loses his state Senate seat to a man by the name of David Rosado, which is where we come back now. The time, late May 1998. And I'm going to be very specific with dates because the timeline of this is historical whiplash. It is nonsense how quickly a lot of this shit goes. So to be very specific, we're talking about May 23rd, 1998. And so Roberto Ramirez, who has most recently ascended to the ranks of the party chairman for the Bronx Democrats, is desperate to bring together the party. The party has seen nothing but infighting since the late 80s, and it's been mostly Pedro forming his own faction of outsiders with the political machine as well. There's been scandal all over the place, which has been giving a lot of these outsiders more of a foothold. So when Roberto Ramirez is going into 1998, he is viewing this as a time to really bring the party together before the 2000 election. And so he decides he is going to work out a peace deal with Pedro to ensure that he's not going to primary David Rosado to get his old seat back. And the other big deal behind this is because they were really wanting to have a united front for the 1999 mayoral election. They had their own candidate in mind, a dude by the name of Francisco Ferrer, and they figured if they could just get the party together, they could probably get this guy as mayor of New York City.
Oh, if only.
And so Roberto goes to Pedro and he offers him this deal. If Pedro promises to just completely retire from politics, then the party agrees to fully support his son, whose full name, Pedro Gautier Espada. It's not spelled like the singer. It's not spelled like the New Zealand guy. It's very French. Gautier.
Ooh, Gautier?
Yeah, Pedro Gautier Espada. The party essentially promises to fully support his son, who had just won a seat on the city council, and to ensure that he would be able to hold that seat for as long as he wanted it. And Pedro agreed to it for about 2 weeks. So
Pedro! God!
So June 12th, 1998, it is revealed that Pedro was on the verge of being indicted for using about $70,000 in HMO funds directed towards Soundview for his 1996 re-election campaign. However, that revelation came directly from Pedro Espada. Turns out that the peace treaty that he had agreed on was based on what he claimed to be direct threats from the Bronx County District Attorney, a guy by the name of Robert Johnson, and that this peace deal was offered to him that if he were to agree to retire, then, maybe we're not going to indict you on these charges of money laundering and theft and fraud.
Goodness.
And to back this up, Pedro actually got the potential evidence on tape.
Of the bribe, essentially?
Of essentially the threat of like, man, it sure would be a shame if you ran again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
these are some indictments you got here. Shame if they were brought to light.
So what Pedro did is he set up, I think it seemed like there was this set up meeting between State Senator Rosado and Pedro's son in his city council office. So Pedro got one of those little spy cameras, put it either on top or in a painting in his office, and just recorded the entire interaction between Rosado and Pedro's son.
I'm actually impressed with his use of what I can only imagine is like Nanny Cam 1.0.
100%. He went to some shitty fucking spy shop where it's nothing but tiny cameras and bears with recorders in them.
Absolutely. Like 23rd and Lex.
I'm glad you know exactly where that is. And so the camera catches David Rosado telling Pedro's kid that if Pedro didn't challenge him in the primary, that the odds of the investigation, quote, cooling off would be much higher. Specifically, Rosado said, quote, it's all politics. It all goes away on July 15th at midnight, which just so happened to be the filing deadline for the race. And when called out on this, Rosado didn't deny it, but just said that he said those things in an attempt to gain the confidence of the Espadas. Quote, I lied to the individual because I knew I was lying to a liar. I'm a politician. I'm interested in no one running against me. I needed to tell him what he needed to hear.
I admire the forthrightedness. I admire just coming out and saying it. But then, sir, like the whole statement, like all of it, like, yes, lying to a liar. Okay, I can't. No, you just needed a blank ticket with only your name on it.
Like a lie is still probably a crime.
This is still not great. This is not like Robin Hood-y doing bad for good reason. This is just stepping on your own dick.
And so Pedro replied to this simply by saying, I know if I run, I'm indicted. And he used the opportunity to restate that he still had no intention of running against Rosado, indictment or not. And Pedro also broke silence on the matter when the district attorney's office informed him that his son was also being brought in for questioning, which to Pedro was a direct violation of the agreement between him and Ramirez.
Oh my God, let the agreement go. None of this is binding. Like, all of you need to be in jail.
No, supporting my son means also supporting his crimes. And if you're not going to do that, good day to you, sir.
There's so much just deep-seated mafia thinking.
Yeah, no one is good in this story. There's, luckily the Bronx now, you at least got like Richie Torres, you have AOC, you have relatively decent people who are probably not committing crimes. At this time, literally anyone in office is probably a goddamn criminal.
Yes.
And so June 18th, 6 days later, Pedro Espada Jr. would officially be indicted. But instead of being charged with stealing $70,000 for his 1996 campaign, the Bronx County DA had upped the amount to $221,000. And in response, Pedro announced that he was running against David Rosado for his old seat, claiming that this was all, quote, a hoax and a set of fabrications all being done to ruin his political career. And the county district attorney, Robert Johnson, was quick to say that that wasn't accurate, and that he had been running this investigation ever since the end of the 96 campaign when Espada failed to produce his campaign finance reports, which, if you remember, is something that he's turning into a tradition.
Oh, boy.
And after this, he looked into the campaign spending, noticed a bunch of irregularities, and went from there. Now, he would also state that Espada was kicked off the Democratic ticket in 1996 because of this, but we all know in retrospect it was because Pedro just could not stop fucking with Roberto Ramirez. So along with Pedro, two other members of the Soundview staff would also be indicted as well, including Sandra Love, which, if you remember, she's kind of Pedro's first foray into politics, where she ran for state senate in 1985, and he served as her campaign manager during that time. And so she's still working as a very high up person at Soundview. So they would all be charged with 3 counts of grand larceny in the second degree, 1 count of grand larceny in the third degree, 1 count of falsifying business records, and 1 count of falsifying filings. And if found guilty, they could all face 15 years in prison apiece.
And they were found guilty and never allowed to run for office again. Right, Dusty? And that's our episode, right, Dusty?
That's the end.
And now we wrap up and say something.
Everything happened. Yep, don't do crime. Stay in school, kids. Don't be a boxer. Stay in school. So June 22nd, 1998, this is 4 days after the indictment is headed down. So Pedro's back in the race for his old seat and facing an incredibly serious set of allegations. And he would have to choose his moves wisely if he was going to regain his seat and beat the claims made against him. His first move to do just that was to inform the press that he had actually been secretly recording his fellow Democrats for the past 2.5 years.
Oh my God, Pedro.
And he kind of implied that if the charges didn't get dropped, that he would send every taped second to the governor of New York and to the FBI.
This is real hardcore. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me energy.
Which Roberto Ramirez essentially said, quote, then just fucking release them all, bro. Fucking bring it. Spoiler alert, he never does.
He didn't. Did he even have tapes, or was he just spouting a lot of hot air?
I'm half and half on this. I feel like he probably did do some recordings, but it's the whole Nixon thing where it's like, you're going to catch some people fucking you, but you're also going to catch yourself saying a bunch of incriminating shit as well if you're just like recording anyone and everyone.
I love the idea of Pedro re-listening to these to find like the good parts and instead understand it. It looks like, oh God, do I sound like that? Oh my God, I can't put this out. I sound like an idiot.
It is the weird thing that you bring that up, because Pedro's speaking voice is not super charismatic. Like, he sounds like if you were in a used car dealership, he might be your 3rd or 4th best salesman based on charisma.
Oh no.
Like, he'll definitely get folks to buy the undercoating, but you got to get folks who are going to stay and listen to him first.
He's a Murray from Goodfellas.
Kind of, yeah. He's very much, he's like a very like taciturn Murray.
Yeah. And so much angrier.
Oh yeah, furious. And so another thing that Roberto Ramirez offered was that he would bring in a third party to come and transcribe all of Pedro's recordings so he wouldn't have to relinquish them to anyone he didn't trust. And of course, Pedro would hide behind his lawyers and say that he was advised not to do that. Apparently it was cool for the Rosado video, but not for the others. And to put it on top of that, Pedro would also claim that he had other friends who also had other recordings of people saying shit. And once again, he would not prove this.
Can we also take a moment to just remember that during this time, I was still listening to a cassette tape Walkman.
Yes.
Like the methods of recording were not cute and subtle.
Oh, no. To the best of my guess, I'm kind of assuming that he, you take the phone off the hook and you call a number and then it records on an answering machine somewhere else. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe spy cams were just that good back then.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it wasn't like I was in the market
or
pricing this shit out.
Like you tape a boom mic to the bottom of your desk. I don't know. I'm not good at this. This isn't our group. But worst of all, after spending the last 2 years coming ever so close to unifying the Bronx County Democrats, Roberto Ramirez got to watch as suddenly a primary season free of any serious challengers became flooded with allies of Espada. Now, many would get booted via legal challenges to their petitions, but this wasn't at all the easy and unifying primary that Ramirez was so desperate to attain. Not only was Pedro able to remain on the ballot, but so was his brother Jose, who was now challenging Ruben Diaz for his assembly seat that he took from Pedro's son. As we all remember, Ruben Diaz was also the politician that Pedro demanded that the local Dems never support again and essentially shoved out into the woods, all for the crime of primarying his son.
Oh, man. And now we enter the Shakespeare level of politics where it's actually all family.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we're entering the point where a scorecard is probably necessary, where you just gotta like draw these connections. Luckily, Jose Espada is not going to be around for very long. He seems to have just been recruited just to have as many Espadas on the ballot as you could. Okay. But not only that, Pedro, Jose, and Pedro's son were also all running for local leadership positions in the party at the exact same time. And for a while, it looked like Pedro was a shoo-in to regain his seat. Just weeks before the primary, he was up by 20% over Rosado. He had spent $250,000 on all of the family campaigns and still carried a ton of sway amongst locals in the Soundview neighborhood. And one of the weirder details I found about this race was that despite both candidates being awash in scandal, neither actually chose to run any kind of smear campaign. It was relatively clean and gentlemanly.
I see it can exist.
I know facial expressions are great for podcasts, but we'll get around to that again.
Oh.
So yeah, both candidates focused on local issues, debated each other in very civil tones, and just went about as if things were perfectly normal. However, the local machine put everything they had behind Rosado, having him campaign with popular incumbents primarily. Plus, it didn't hurt constantly reminding people that Pedro had, in fact, been indicted for the crime of maybe taking about $200,000 in hospital money. And by the day of the primary, Rosado would just barely defeat Espada by 740 votes. Party insiders were shocked, weary, but overall thankful for the outcome. Pedro hinted that he thought the whole vote was rigged, but declined to press charges or ask for an investigation. But he did vow that since the vote was so close, he was going to run again for his seat in the year 2000. So while waiting for the trial for all the fraud, Espada, you know how they say in court, like you're here for all fraud, just a bunch. Sit down.
Tout le fraud.
Oh, God damn it. You know, we really should have been lawyers. This would have been good for us. So Espada returned to running his hospital and offering the occasional blurb on health to the local press. It would take 2 years before his case came to trial, and lucky for Pedro, he would head to trial exactly 1 day after the 2000 primary election. He gets to run this entire time completely shrouded in scandal, and then the day after the election, they might say if he's guilty or not.
This is insane. Like, I get that it's local politics and everyone knows everyone, but maybe if you do a crime, you shouldn't be allowed to go that far into a candidacy.
I mean, one would hope, but you know, I mean, there are people who are federal prisoners who run for office on a regular basis. And you know, I mean, if you do that, if anything, the Bronx Democrats have shown that they would not be above, say, I don't know, getting a DA that they're friendly with to just place a frivolous charge and then, you know, take that away once the primary season's done. I get what you're saying, but you would hope that the public would probably think better of that. But while the 1998 campaign was marked by Rosado and Espada being remarkably civil, Pedro would learn his lesson from that campaign, that if you're gonna win, you can't be fucking nice. So the two men would sue each other back and forth over charges of slander and political abuse. Pedro would even expand his legal barrage to the Bronx Democrats and the Bronx Republicans, claiming that they had used discriminatory practices in hiring election officials. Which, all right, I worked as an election official in a large city. They're not picky. They need the bodies. It's hard to come across them. So if you want in, you're in. As long as you're not like showing up, you know, reading a Gore Vidal book or, you know, decked out in a MAGA hat and shoes and all that shit, they're going to be like, fine, come on in, let's do this.
Keep your partisanship tasteful.
Look, all we need you to do is get back those ballot pens. We only get like a few and we cannot afford to lose them. So it's such a weird lawsuit, but this is all Pedro's essentially doing right now. And weirdly enough, when the court asked Pedro if he was planning to turn over his 2.5 years of secret videos, his legal team replied that they weren't going to, due to not wanting to enact a wave of, quote, political retribution before the primary. But what he did do was he started doing, I can't remember if I put this in later, but he made his own transcripts and then sent them to the local news that no one could verify.
This is so jankety. This is...
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking, like, does Pedro even want this? He doesn't even want to be an elected official.
Yeah, like, I don't know what he wants. I don't know what he believes, other than just like, I just want power and more of it. And the power I get is never enough because I'm constantly making enemies. It's almost like politics is a realm where you always have enemies.
I don't even want to give him that much. I feel it's not that he even like necessarily wants to win. He just wants the other guy to lose.
Ooh, yeah. God, yeah, it's such a terrible job to enter if that's your goal in life, is just to make other people lose. You're never gonna be satisfied.
This is what I'm saying.
I mean, not to be a liberal who brings up Donald Trump all the time, but I mean, that's a guy who lives to watch other people fail. And
I know, and he should just look in a mirror. Hey-o.
Wonderful, I love it. But yeah, but that's also like, if you're like, oh, I'm president, that's still a job where people are going to succeed beyond your years. People are going to be constantly reevaluating what you've done. History doesn't really stop with a final edition of how you've done.
Neither does the presidency. Like, other people will continue to win.
Yep. It's, oh my God, it's such a terrible business. Like, you could have just had a fiefdom of hospitals.
A perfectly good fiefdom of hospitals in a perfectly good up-and-coming borough of New York City.
Yeah, but like, you get into one fight with the local government on whether or not you should be given a daycare for free. And all of a sudden, that's your thing, where it's just like, I have to defeat all of these people who tried to fuck me out of a free business that never should have been mine to begin with. Where were we? Oh yeah, politics. So shortly after all of the Pedro essentially saying that, no, I'm never going to release these tapes, go home, Pedro stated on TV during a debate that David Rosado had a history of lewd behavior and that he had evidence that Rosado had paid services to a sex worker, which Rosado responded to by suing the fuck out of Pedro.
Yes, as well he should.
So, just add it to the pile. I don't know when they're going to have time to get to all of this.
That's the only legitimate legal recourse I've heard yet in all of this.
It's... Like, David Rosado is no saint, but come on, man. If you're gonna accuse a guy of something, at least make it something that's plausible.
Yeah, it's like
provable, or at least you're like easier to prove than like, I know you did things with a sex worker, because sex workers typically don't give receipts. Like, there's no paper trail usually, as far as I know. I'm not in the industry, so.
Yeah, follow it for a while, see if there's a man axe, or find out if the guy wears socks, and then take it down like any other DA in New York.
Like, you live in the city that invented the trope of hopping into a cab and saying, follow that car. Like, you could do that. It'd be expensive, but clearly you have the cash reserves for it.
It's just so painful when you like watching or hearing someone do the thing that there's actually a law to prevent. Like the reason libel and slander laws exist is so Pedro can't go on TV and be like, yeah, well, my opponent has a call girl addiction. Like, no! You're just outright lying. You're just like, it's lazy lying.
This guy goes on something called the internet and he hangs out in whatever called a chat room saying,
and then he jerks it.
He says, asshole question. And people answer. It's very lascivious.
Because it's almost 2000 and we got to get our chats in before Y2K.
Look, you go into excite.com and you type in sex and then you're good. And this is what David Rosado does.
So vote for me.
What normal people do is you go onto Yahoo and we type in tasteful intercourse. What Rosado does is he goes on to Alta Vista or Dogpile or some weird corner of the internet and just types in weirdshit.sex.
Now me, I just use those CD-ROMs as coasters because I'm a Christian.
Look, we all saved AOL CDs and did just that. It's totally fine. Oh, man. And wouldn't you know, the thing to defeat party politics is apparently just making up wild shit and burying yourself in mountains of lawsuits. Because on the day of the primary, Pedro would win by 3,500 votes.
This is so discouraging.
And as if it mattered, Roberto Ramirez swore that the county Dems wouldn't offer a single person or cent to help Espada's campaign. But all hope wasn't lost for Ramirez. You see, if Pedro was convicted before the general election, then the party could replace him with whoever they wanted. And so then the case got delayed until late October. So if Pedro was found guilty, they would have 5 days to put a new candidate on the ballot and reprint everything in the Bronx. And if there's anything I think we know about turn-of-the-century printers, they weren't exactly fast.
Well, listen, having had to use them in 2017 for reasons that were off Broadway theater, it's only gotten worse. Yeah, at least there was a Kinko's.
That's true. And so the case got delayed until late October, so they would need the court case to end quickly. And wouldn't you know it, the court case ended up lasting past the primary.
Come on, court case.
And so David Rosado would be on the ballot, this time as a Liberal Party candidate, but we've talked about this before. If you're the Liberal Party candidate and you're not also the Democrat or the Republican or anything else like that, you're not going to fucking win. And this time wouldn't be any different. And Pedro would end up beating his nemesis a second time within a month, this time by 90% to 5. And the incumbent Rosado would do so bad that he only beat the Republican nominee by 105 votes.
A Republican in the Bronx?
Yep, there's one, at least.
Woof.
And then 2 weeks later, after election, Pedro Espada Jr. and his 2 co-workers would be found not guilty of all charges, making his election victory even more official.
Wow, it is just all coming up Millhouse for Pedro. Yeah.
Yeah, Millhouse Espada is coming back to fucking Albany. Goddamn deal with it, suckers. So you know what? He's back in Albany. He's got his old job back. And it's now time to buckle down and focus entirely on state politics and do his fucking job. And you know what? Fuck that, because there are still local politicians to piss off. So right after Pedro got resat in his old seat, a special election would be held for an open seat on the New York City Council. The seat had originally been held by a guy by the name of Jose Rivera, and Roberto Ramirez threw party support behind the son of Jose Rivera, a dude by the name of Joel. And Espada and a few others would endorse a guy by the name of Edwin Ortiz. Now Ortiz was a 35-year-old social worker, and Joel Rivera was a 22-year-old junior at Fordham University.
What? No!
But he's Jose's kid. He'll graduate eventually. It'll be fine.
You don't let things be run by a child.
Why do Democrats do this? Why do we do this?
Let him run student government. My God.
He's not even a senior. He's a 22-year-old junior, and as someone who was a 5-year student in undergrad, yeah, you shouldn't have made me the head of a city council at any point when I was a 22-year-old super senior.
He's an idiot at 22.
Yeah, it's all just the worst idea. But the weird thing about Ortiz is that in 1998, he ran for the state assembly as a conservative. But this was a chance for Espada to once again just fuck with Roberto. And once again, the party machine won with a 22-year-old heir to power. Pedro reacted to this by immediately stating that he was running for Bronx Borough president. He was in his job for 2 months before he said, I am running for a different job.
He's so angry.
Look, I'd be pissed too if a 22-year-old beat out my candidate. It's a shitty thing. I will give him credit on that. But come on, dude. You just got your old job back. Fucking prove it that you want it.
Yeah, use your microphone of your current position to say, hey, what the fuck? You put a 22-year-old who has not graduated yet in power.
And the thing I immediately thought is, isn't this kind of a demotion? Like, you're a state senator. That seems pretty high up in the echelon.
This is what I'm saying. He doesn't want to win. He just wants someone else to lose. He wants this 22-year-old to lose.
So there is one thing that makes it sound like it is kind of a promotion, and that's mainly that the job has historically paid better, typically by about 20 grand, give or take.
Oh, because it's in the city and it's a bit more like cost of
living
expensive?
Like the cost of living probably, but also there's just probably more money to go into it for local politics, if I had to make a guess.
Well, I can also, maybe not with Pedro himself, but I can also see a similar candidate like fighting tooth and nail to get to Albany, to get into power, and then getting to Albany and being like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm in Albany now.
Oh, I forgot what Albany's like. Now I have to be here. Well, yeah, and the thing is, too, according to insiders, the job of borough president is described as, quote, easy, a ceremonial job. Anyone is qualified.
Oh, this is one of those things where it's like, my salary is $1, and I do this out of the good of my...
I hate the crystal ball that you're using right now, because it's going to come up.
No.
But yeah, it's just like apparently just it's sort of like a public advocate in New York City. So in New York City, you have the mayor, and then you kind of have like a lieutenant mayor called the public advocate, who it's a really good job to kind of springboard you to other positions. But the only reason the job there is in case the mayor dies and there's a line of succession.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like it makes sense, especially when, New York City wasn't exactly, a town known for mayors that are above committing crimes. And so it's always good to have someone in the background to be like, okay, you're up, have fun.
Sure, yeah. Or you're out on the campaign trail locally and like meeting people, kissing babies, shaking hands. One of those hands happens to be that of Typhoid Mary.
Oh, God damn it, Mary, stop voting.
Yeah. Death. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. And so it's kind of one of those jobs. And it's kind of hard to keep your enemies close when all your enemies are in the Bronx and you're in Albany. And also, weirdly enough, Pedro never even bothered to open his local state senate office in the Bronx, pretty much just putting all his focus on the new race and ignoring the job that he had just won.
I can't take it! Some of us fought tooth and nail in our 20s just to be employed, Pedro.
Look, why didn't you run for city council just like Joel?
Had I known!
Could have just dropped out of college and run the city with a bunch of other weirdos. But really, and I know this is going to sound weird, it was actually probably a pretty decent time for Pedro to make this career shift. He had just opened his 7th medical center, and after beating the court case against him, he had a legit shot to become the president of the entire borough, and maybe even get enough support to unseat Roberto Ramirez for good. And the icing on the cake was that the expected machine candidate would be none other than Jose Rivera, Joel's dad, and the man who made the mistake of embarrassing Pedro. Funny thing, though, is Jose wouldn't end up running. Instead, the party would move their support behind city councilman Adolfo Carrion. And to make things harder for Pedro, city councilwoman June Island also decided to enter the race as well. And this would be a problem because it was assumed that she would sway most, if not all, of the 26% of the people in the Bronx who were white. But she also began a rivalry with Ramirez the second she entered the race, effectively splitting the anti-machine vote for everyone running.
Even to a white woman.
Oh my God. God damn it, June. And as for Carrion, he would start the race off with a disadvantage. So Carrion, along with Roberto Ramirez and Al Sharpton, would be arrested in Puerto Rico for protesting the use of the Vieques Naval Testing Range by trespassing on the naval base. Now, this was a huge deal in the early 2000s. Essentially, there was a naval base on the island of Vieques in Puerto Rico. Nowadays, it's a nature preserve because there's a lot of migratory animals that live there, a lot of flora and fauna that are very indigenous to the island. But also, the rate of cancer is much higher on Vieques, prominently because the bomb range put a bunch of toxic shit into the land that ended up moving into the water supply.
God damn it.
And so in the early 2000s, shutting down this naval base became a very huge fucking thing. And so Ramirez, Carrion, and Al Sharpton all went down there, snuck onto the military base, and they all got arrested and ended up spending about 40 days in jail after being arrested.
Wow.
Which gave Pedro a chance to just run against him while this dude was in jail and give himself as big of a head start as he possibly could. And then things get a little fucked up. So
more?
A little bit. So on July 6th of 2000, Sandra Love is back. And it's because she's pleading guilty to using false information to win a $95,000 state grant. So the money was intended to help Teatro de Puerto Rico project pay 9 months of back rent on their space. And instead, she took $80,000 of it and put it straight into Soundview Health Center's bank account, and then put another $6,000 into Espada's campaign funds. And the rest no one really knows.
What? My jaw's out. This is just, she's just straight criming.
Yeah, like robbing from a theater company is fucking low. It's not like, no one gets into theater for the money. It's especially in New York City. And if you're behind 9 months on your fucking space rent, like you're desperate for that cash. It's not gonna be around. And so she just fucked this theater company that was probably a paragon of the neighborhood if I had to make a goddamn guess.
I'm even thinking of like not even using a shell company, not like doing nothing to hide the trace of this money. This is wild.
And so she pled guilty. And Una, I'm really glad this time that justice is actually being served, because the judge looked her in the eye and they said, Sandra, I want you to fucking listen to me. Of the $95,000 that you have stolen, you're going to pay $20,000 of that back to the state. Get the fuck out of my sight.
That was it?
That's it. Yep.
What?
You know how big business is when they make more money than the fines that they have to pay, so they just keep doing shit?
Yes.
Apparently that works on an individual basis as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pour one out for the theater company.
Oh yeah, they shut down because
oh my God.
Yeah, they shut down like a month later because they had not been able to pay their rent and they got kicked out. And when you don't have a space, it's kind of hard to do shows. Yeah.
Now I'm angry.
So in retaliation for this, 4 days later, Pedro Espada sued Bronx County District Attorney Robert Johnson for $100 million for wrongful prosecution. And Sandra used this as an opportunity to say that Johnson forced her to plead guilty the week prior, and that the health center got all that money because they had loaned the theater company the money before the grant came in. And the only reason Johnson was even going after her was because Love was running for a seat on city council.
This is so trashy and terrible.
Yeah. Also, that's not how grants work. The money has to go straight to the people. You can't just be like an IOU sort of deal. Or at minimum, you give the money to the company and then they give you the money back. It's so fucking frustrating. And, usually I would give like a benefit of the doubt on this, but there is some future knowledge that allows me to state Sandra Love definitely stole that fucking money and had no intention of giving it to a theater company.
Just straight up did a crime.
Yeah, it's a hospital run by crime people. It's very, very fucking sad because they're definitively helping people in the community by offering services that they cannot get anywhere else, and they are taking advantage of that by stealing hundreds of thousands of goddamn dollars.
Like in my mind, she went to the bank with the grant paperwork, gave them the paperwork, they gave her stacks of cash, and she shoved it into her pockets. Like that's how brazen this theft was.
Yeah. I think
that she was like, great, I'm going to use this to make a pillowcase, and then I'm going to sleep on it. That's what I'm going to do. And they said, ha, great joke, because this is going to the theater, right? And she said, ha, good one, and then walked away.
I think that's the thing that blows my mind about all the Democrats that we're talking about in this story is that there's just every attempt is put on getting the money, and then there's no energy left to hide the grift.
Yes.
It's just like, the grift is completed. I'm going on vacation for 3 months. And maybe when I get back, I'll remember to cover my tracks.
This is the thing. It's just like, and then I'm left wondering, it's like, were we so much less wired then that you could like go about your day thinking like, yeah, I'm going to get away. I mean, obviously these people are completely delusional and criminal. So there's that. But also this idea of just like, you don't have a Venmo account. I don't know, like online banking, like all this stuff where it's just like, it's so clear that it's like, no, you have to hide it. You have to put a couple companies together so that at least it's like a pain in the ass to figure out where it went.
Yeah, like make a fake theater company. They're like so many of them shut down each year that you can make one up, get the grant money, and then when people come asking where the money is, just say it got shut down.
Right, and people be like, yeah, that tracks because it's a theater company. Like instead, it sounds like the money that just sort of disappeared. I wouldn't be surprised if, again, she had it in physical cash and accidentally left it in a cab. Like that's how lazy it sounds like they were with this.
Oh my God, it's so fucking frustrating.
The locker at LaGuardia, but she lost the key to it.
Yeah, seriously, just the sheer not giving a fuck caused me to just leave my desk on so many moments. Like, I'm cavalier going through all this just because I've seen all of it. I've been through every one of your emotions so far, and it's why research for this has taken so goddamn long. Anyway, so a month goes by. It's August 20th of 2000. The primary's still going in full force.
I am applying to colleges. Okay, go on.
Pedro Espada requests that the federal government needs to come to the Bronx to monitor the borough election and ensure that nothing illegal occurs.
Too late.
Not that one. No, just look at the And Roberto Ramirez responds to this in now his traditional way of saying, yeah, fucking come down here. We kind of need you. And the Justice Department takes this in, takes it under consideration, and politely says, yeah, we're looking into it, and then just went back to work.
It's August 2000. You have nothing better to do. You're not searching out brown people without a warrant. You have nothing. You're reading about J-Lo on People Like, everything is golden. You are bored.
Look, I kind of get what they're saying. I think it's one of those things where they're just like getting, they're just getting used to email. They're getting 50 emails from Pedro and Roberto every single fucking day. They're like, is this a borough election for a job that people have said does not goddamn matter? So what do you say? We go to the Quantico Quiznos. It would be great. So in the end, it would be a heck of a comeback for Roberto Ramirez. His faction would sweep all the major races, and not only would Pedro lose his race, but his son would also lose his seat on the city council. And now Pedro had to do the unthinkable. He had to go to Albany and actually do his job. Which, according to attendance records, which, there's not a lot of reports that end up statewide when it's a New York City political thing, but there was a statewide article that ended up going through all the various newspapers talking about the attendance records of state senators, and it kind of turns out that Pedro had skipped the most days of work than any other senator that year.
Am I supposed to be surprised? Like, this is the least surprising of the news. The least.
Yeah, I think he might have been, like, it's a mix of just like, I was supposed to be in a new job by now. I didn't know they were taking attendance.
Wait, what? There's attendance? Yeah, Ramirez would have attended more days, even being in jail.
Oh, yeah.
40 of them.
Yeah, and he seems like a dude who would take that job seriously if he got it, but nope. And so that election would be the last straw for Roberto Ramirez. After attempting year after year to bridge the gap between party factions, a sound trouncing of his enemies was kind of about the best he could hope for, and he ended up stepping down from leading the Bronx Democrats. And the party would then select Jose Rivera to replace him, and Pedro responded to this election by immediately changing his party affiliation to Republican.
Oh my God.
You can't be my boss, I quit.
Oh, what could have happened if he had just got into boxing?
Yeah, he would have just gotten brain damage at 23 and he'd be running like a knockoff Yankees jersey shop or something. Nope, but instead we get this.
But from the like New York casino in Las Vegas.
So sad and true. Oh my God. Yeah, and so this party change could have very well just been his frustration of dealing with someone new and not really being able to fight Ramirez anymore, because, I mean, what's the fun when your enemy just walks away? But the real reason for the switch was probably because the Republicans had controlled the New York State Senate for decades. And by switching parties, suddenly, Pedro was in the controlling party. And if you thought that might keep him from running in the Democratic primary for his re-election, then you would be horribly wrong.
So he just played both sides?
It gets a little weirder than that.
No.
June 24th, 2002. So Pedro goes to court because the Democrats are wanting to kick him off the Democrat ballot because he just said he's a Republican.
Yeah, pick a lane.
And the court would also decide whether or not he would be permitted to run in the Democrat primary in general. So it's kind of a double thing. We're kicking you out of the party and we don't want you on the ballot. The weird thing is that Pedro claimed that he couldn't legally change his party affiliation until after the primary. And this seems to be true. It's just also kind of convenient. And so Pedro's other argument was that he was only doing this because, guys, me being a Republican is a sneaky grift. So it turns out that when you're in the controlling party of a state senate, you kind of get more benefits and more money ends up going to your district.
Oh.
And that's kind of what I'll get to more specifics on what that is. But yeah, so essentially now that you're in the ruling party, they're like, okay, do you have some special projects that you might like? All right, we're in control and we can get those passed now.
Yeah, we're the ruling party. We're going to throw a barbecue. So whatever pork you need, we got it.
100%. And so in court, he's saying this, but in public, not so much. So when the Democratic Party didn't really buy that, Pedro just said he'd run in both major primaries and you could fucking suck it. One thing about that, though, is for Pedro to run the GOP primary, he would need to get a waiver from the local county chairman of the GOP to allow him on the ballot. And that chairman was a dude by the name of Guy Valea. And he also happened to be one of the people that Pedro had recorded in secret, so he wasn't exactly ready to give him that waiver.
Yeah, no, bro.
But the thing is, having Pedro as a Republican just only solidified leadership there all the more, and it kind of seems like they might have strong-armed Guy Valea to give him the approval to be on the ballot as a Republican. So the next month, the New York Times would end up finding out that the potential real reason for Pedro's pseudo-switch. Turns out that members of the New York State's Congress get something called member items in the state budget. And this is a chunk of cash that they can decide where it goes. You essentially get a bulk of money and you decide where it goes locally. And so typically the funds would go to nonprofits or public works programs or remedying health issues, advocating for certain things. And one of the benefits of being in the majority party is you end up getting so much more cash if you're in the majority party than the minority. So suddenly, Senator Espada was given $745,000 to put into whatever local program he wishes.
No.
And he decided that all of that money should go directly to the Comprehensive Community Development Corporation, specifically to create a new AIDS center, a new medical van for his hospital, and a series of health programs that would all take place at his chain of hospitals.
Yep. I knew it. I fucking knew it. Yep.
Why would give this guy anything more than $10? He's just going to pocket it.
I wouldn't give him that.
And so this funny thing, that's a huge ethics violation because it kind of states that you can't put the money into something that you potentially own.
Fucking duh.
And weirdly enough, this is something that got caught very quickly because it seems like the kind of easy work that the New York Times probably has interns do between coffee runs. Just like, hey guys, the member items just came down. Look into this for 3 minutes apiece.
Yeah, we're not going to fact check it because we barely fact check anything anymore. So give it to Judith Miller to look over.
So the New York Times broke the story of where all the money was going, and all $745,000 that Pedro had gotten were immediately rescinded before the money got sent out. And of course, Pedro was furious about this. However, he referred to this as, quote, a learning process for the first time. How do I benefit from the CCDC having a medical van? And he then blamed the controversy on the Bronx County Democrats making something out of nothing, and I fucking hate this guy so fucking much. This shouldn't be a learning experience. You were a state senator already. You probably already had member items, you fuck. You just had less of them. What did you do with those? I want to fucking know, you piece of shit.
You're so bad at this.
It's infuriating. Just like make one shell company. One, and I will respect you grudgingly more.
As two wannabe grifters, how are we better at this than you are?
We're better at this and we still have nothing to show for it. Is this the problem? Are we just planning too much?
Like, yeah, we're just millennials. We have no seed money.
Yep. Yeah, meanwhile, the Bronx Democrats are just democrating all over the place, by which I mean they handpicked a candidate to go up against Pedro, but hadn't vetted them for even the most basic of information. So the party would pick a young lawyer by the name of Reza Castillo, who, not gonna lie, she seems awesome as fuck and would have been a really good candidate. She began her career representing low-income families in housing court and would eventually go on to found her own practice dealing with that. And now eventually she would go on to serve on the city council and become a state assemblywoman, but it turns out that the co-op that she claimed to live in hadn't actually seen her in the building for a while. And her primary residence, at least based on voting records, appeared to be Manhattan. So part of the story is that she actually was living in the Bronx, but had moved in after the date that she should have been living there, because apparently you have to be living in the district for a year, at least at this period of time. And so since she moved in too late and didn't change her information, it made her ineligible to be on the ballot.
Oh, come on. But meanwhile, Pedro's living it up in Westchester?
I mean, we haven't checked on him in a while. He's in Albany. What are you going to do? And so they had to kick Reza off the ballot. So now with a month before the primary, the party suddenly had to find and properly vet a brand new candidate to unseat Pedro. So some good news, though, is that a judge would officially kick Pedro out of the Democrat Party, which sets up a potentially embarrassing situation for the Democrats. Because if Reza is found to be ineligible by the Board of Elections, then on primary day, there are going to be no Democrats on the ballot.
Come on! The amount of dick stepping.
You know, it's almost as if a local faction of a major party growing so strong that they dictate who can run and who can't might be a bad idea.
You stop with that thinking, Dusty.
And so, like I said, Reza would be kicked off the ballot. But the thing the courts did find is they don't believe that she did it on purpose, that it was actually just an honest mistake, which based on her character, yeah, I think that's 100% what happened. So the court said she can't be on the ballot, but we are going to allow the Democrats to place a candidate of their choosing on the ballot. To which they chose Ruben Diaz, the man that Pedro wanted kicked the fuck out of the party.
So they were like, okay, you know what? We see you, Pedro. We fucking see you. Two can play at the petty game.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, I just imagine like a window shattering in Ruben's home, and he walks into the living room, and it's not just like a brick on the floor, but it's like a brick and a bunch of rocks taped together. It's just a ball of pure fury. Is revenge cessed a word? Because I think that's kind of what we're dealing with here with this party.
Yes.
It's just, everyone's related. All these names keep fucking coming up. It's some fucking Montague Capulet. I bite my thumb at you, sir. I do not bite my thumb at you, but I do bite my thumb. Fuck you, bring it, Capulet nonsense.
100%.
It's so angering. And the worst part is all their fucking kids are also running. Like, there's Ruben Diaz Sr. and there's Ruben Diaz Jr. There's Pedro and his son. There's Jose and Joel. It's so fucking infuriating. Like, between nepotism and dictating who can run, it's a miracle. It blows my mind that Democrats got anything done or anyone elected during this time. The New Alliance Party could have snuck in and done so fucking much if it wasn't a goddamn cult.
Right, that's the other thing. It's just like, if any third party had the sense to not fucking shoot for the moon.
Yeah, just keep doing fucking local politics. Maybe don't build a cult of personality and actually mean what you fucking say. They could have done so fucking much, and that could have been an amazing wake-up call to a major party to be like, oh shit, we need to get our fucking act together. But instead, nope, we're just gonna fucking dick step all over the place as if, we're just line stepping and just booting on everyone. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm so fucking mad again.
Yeah, maybe if we were playing the slap game where I take a shot and slap you, and then you take a shot and you slap another person.
Oh my God. So now technically Ruben Diaz Sr. is now the only Democrat on the ballot. So as is tradition, the Bronx Democrat lawyers and Pedro's lawyers fought each other to try to kick Diaz off the ballot, to get Espada back on the ballot, and then to kick Espada off the ballot and Diaz off the ballot. And for a couple of days, it kind of looked like Diaz was going to be gone. But with only one day before the primary election, the courts would finally decide that both men would remain on the primary ballot. I hope you didn't start printing.
Does the court not understand that?
Look, I would like to shit on the court here for being like, we're going to wait until the last fucking day possible, but knowing the number of lawsuits that even just these two dudes have placed against each other, it's not like they can bend space and time to make this shit happen sooner.
Fair enough. No, and I am imagining the lawyers just like, I am doing what I goddamn can. I am severely underpaid.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of lawyers screaming into a pint glass a block away from the courts. It's, oh my God. I'm sure they did financially great. It cannot be good for your soul. So both of them are on the ballot. And after a summer of campaigning that could best be summarized as two sides screaming no fuck you at increasingly louder intervals, folks went to the polls and just very barely told Pedro to go away.
Oh my God.
Ruben Diaz would win by 97 votes. The thing, though, is Pedro was the only candidate who entered the Republican primary, so fucking congrats. We get another pair of months of these two fucks. You're goddamn welcome. I hate this. I hate this.
I'm sorry, this was just the primary?
Yep, this was the primary, but Pedro's already on the Republican ballot, so we gotta do the fucking general with these two shit dicks. And so the remaining months until the general election were just a drama-filled mess. A grand jury was formed to look into Pedro's mistake of giving himself $745,000 of state money. And
hold on. Wait, time out. So the primary, it was Pedro against
Ruben Diaz Sr.
Ruben Diaz Sr. And if Pedro had won by 97 votes, would it just have been like Pedro versus Pedro?
Yep, it would have been, he would be running as the Democrat and Republican, and I think the Conservative Party, which typically acts in the same vein as the Liberal Party of New York, probably would have run their own candidate as well, and they would have gotten like 53 votes.
My head's going to explode. Okay, I just needed to confirm that. Continue.
Yeah. Oh, and to make things even more fun, I forgot to write this down. Pedro also got the endorsement of a second party, the Independence Party of New York, which we're going to do a whole episode on. But one of the earlier founders of the Independence Party of New York were Fred Newman and Lenora Fulani.
Oh, no.
The New Alliance Party kind of evolved into the Independence Party of New York.
Oh, Oh boy.
So he's still got those New Alliance Party connections. Oh my God. So to deflect from this, Espada began running ads revealing that in 1965, Ruben Diaz had been arrested for possession of 12 bags of heroin and 6 bags of weed. And weirdly enough, he wasn't making this up.
This wasn't him just spouting nonsense and
No, this is actually true. But the thing with this though is like Ruben Diaz had admitted to all the weed back then. He just really didn't talk about the heroin that much. But it was something that he talked about a lot. It was a lot of his backstory as a minister and finding Christ comes from this arrest.
Ooh.
And yeah, and so he fully admits that he had a long criminal history long before finding God and hating LGBTQ folks with a burning goddamn passion.
Oh no.
But just like the Rosado race, they both started suing each other for defamation. Pedro also had a suit trying to get the Democrat Party to do a rerun as a runoff, despite the fact that the initial race only had 2 fucking people to begin with. But he said it had to be done due to, quote, 800 phantom votes in the machines.
No, stop with the lying.
Which makes me all the more pissed off to be happy that Ruben Diaz would end up winning the general election. And this time he'd do it by 65% to 33%.
Oh,
so, you know,
damn.
Technically the runoff that Pedro wanted to begin with. But you know the one thing about Diaz winning? It means that his seat on the city council is now open and a special election needs to be held to fill it, Una. Do you know what's about to happen, Una? God damn it. That's right. Diaz supporter, attorney, and relative unknown Kenneth Padilla is going to fucking run for that seat.
No, Dusty, no.
It turns out there have been a number of bigger names interested in running, but Padilla was a bit of a compromise choice between the Bronx and the Queens Democrats. And sure, Padilla might have worked directly for INS, the predecessor for ICE, but you know, peace between the boroughs is really what's most important right now. So we're gonna run a lawyer for ICE in a predominantly Latino neighborhood. What could possibly go wrong? It's not like someone else is gonna enter the race and ruin everything for everyone. Oh no, that's Pedro's music, and it is ba with the ba.
I hate everything.
So it turns out Padilla and Espada would be the only 2 candidates to get all the signatures on time. And since it's a nonpartisan race, the candidates got to make up their own parties to be on the ballot. Padilla chose Community First Party. You know, bland. It's, you know, it is what it is. And Pedro ended up picking the New Bronx Alliance Party. Remove Bronx, and I hate him.
And start getting your chakras aligned.
God fucking damn it. Also, fun fact, Pedro would end up not switching to the Republicans, and technically he's still a Democrat at this time.
Of course he is. He's everything.
And this time Pedro actually has a policy. It's one thing. You see, the new mayor, Mike Bloomberg, was a billionaire, and as such promised that he would only take a salary of $1 if he was elected mayor. And Pedro, not to be outdone, vowed to work for less than $1, which would be tough because legally $1 is the minimum.
God damn it, Again, so petty and also so dumb. Like, what are you going to do, Pedro, now? Like, what? You painted yourself into a corner. You can't do 99 cents. What are you going to do?
And I know it's shitty to say that he doesn't have policy, but every policy I've read of his is like, I will bring business. I will make easier to live, more housing. How are you going to do it? I'll just do it. It'll be fine. I'm working for 86 cents a day. It's fine.
He is Vincent Adultman from BoJack Horseman.
Oh my God. No, Vincent Adultman has morals and scruples. Those children are going to be okay. But Una, meanwhile, at the hospitals that Pedro still owned and was still getting a paycheck for, some shit was going down. Turns out that the New York Health Department started looking into things with the financials. They weren't really quite sure what they found, but could definitely say that it was some very shady bookkeeping. Shady enough that the state made the move to remove all funding for the hospital chain's WIC program. Now, for those of you who are outside America, WIC stands for Women, Infant, and Children, and it is essentially it's a mix of like a food program and a nutrition program, but they also supply breastfeeding support. It's essentially a program for new mothers and helping out their children if they are low-income families. So it's incredibly important, and you have to, not everyone can offer it. You have to kind of prove that you're decent folk or that you're the government.
You have to jump through hoops for this program that should be available to everyone, no questions asked.
Exactly.
Because it is for the benefit of your entire society.
100%. And so when Pedro found out about this, he immediately blamed, quote, a political vendetta. And the state responded to this by looking a little deeper into his bookkeeping and then removed all funding from Pedro's HIV programs as well.
Oh my God. And there were no victims except for all the victims of the people who probably desperately needed these services, thrift or not.
And with all of this happening, Pedro knew exactly who was fucking pulling the strings. None other than Ruben Diaz Sr. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. So the health department would state to these charges, quote, Soundview scored very poorly on their renewal application. They just operated a substandard program. Now, luckily, the special election would only involve 1 month of campaigning. And unluckily, Pedro fucking won. 64-36. Now, Pedro would be set for the general election that would be coming up. So as of right now, he's just serving it out until the general election on the city council. But if he wins this, he's going to be able to spend a full term on the city council. And finally, he had a political position where he could focus on local efforts only rather than continue his disinterest in statewide needs. And in June of 2003, the New York Daily News even ran a whole article about how his city council seat was certain to go unchallenged and remain his for as long as he wanted. So of course, he decided that instead of running, he would replace his own name with his son's.
What? He's like, oh, it's mine to lose? I'll show you, motherfuckers.
Yeah. You know what? My son should have never lost that city council seat. So I'm putting him on the ballot. Vote for Pedro Espada III. In a great twist, his son lost to newcomer Annabelle Palma. But you know what? Fuck that young idiot. This is Pedro's story. And of course, in 2004, he fucking announced that he was running for the state senate again. He's getting his seat back from Ruben Diaz. Because you know what? That man cost him his neighborhood, his WIC and HIV services. He has ruined my name, and I am going to take my fucking seat back. And about that. So the truth behind why the state revoked the funds to Soundview began trickling out around January of 2004. So 7 employees of Soundview were arraigned on charges of illegally working on Pedro's 2003 city council campaign. The issue is that since these people were paid with federal funds and doing this work while on the clock at Soundview, they were in direct violation of election law. The case had been revealed by State Attorney General Elliot Spitzer and was just the tip of the iceberg of what he had found. The very next day, 4 senior managers at Soundview Health Center, including Sandra Love, were indicted by Spitzer on charges of grand larceny, specifically that they stole state-funded money from hospital programs, predominantly programs that were meant to go to WIC and HIV/AIDS care, and then funneled that money into Espada's 2001 Bronxborough president campaign.
In bags that probably had dollar signs on them. That's how subtle these fuckers were.
Guys, should we use the good fraud bags?
Should we use the silk or the linen?
Look, why buy Gucci if you're not going to show it off? And look, I know all of this sounds bad, but it gets worse when you read the details. Quote, the scheme was alleged to have included the following. 1. Directing workers in Soundview's WIC and AIDS programs to stop doing their healthcare jobs and instead work on various political campaigns, including election day work, petitioning, and handing out campaign literature. 2. Paying up to $6,000 in individual bonuses to certain WIC workers who had been the most active in the campaigns, and then billing the state for the bonuses by claiming that they were overtime and other salary expenses for healthcare-related work.
Oh my God.
3. Encouraging employees to donate to the campaign in order to gain more funds from the city's 4-to-1 matching funds. So essentially, you would state, all right, here are all the donations I got, and the city, in a way to kind of level the playing field, would give you 4 times that money in city funds for your campaign. And so what would happen is employees would give someone like Sandra Love this money. The money would come in from the city, and then after those funds had arrived, they would take those funds and reimburse the employees exactly the amount they gave.
I can't.
And finally, 4, and this one just hurts so fucking much. They took items from their in-house AIDS food pantry to hand out at political rallies.
No!
Yep. They took free food, or food that had been donated to them for underserved and marginalized folks. And we're just like, you know, I think this political campaign could use this crate of Ritz crackers we got for free. Let's just do that. This
is so unholy. This is just amazingly bad.
It is fucking sinister. Just reading everything that they did is just, it is so fucking gross. And it's just an escalation of everything they'd already been doing. And clearly they didn't give a fuck about actually trying to hide it. Like, they're at least sort of attempting this now instead of just being like, all right, we'll reimburse you money that you give us. But clearly they weren't hiding it very well. And it's just so fucking gross. So even just one of those things would have been enough for his hospitals to lose their funding, let alone all 4 of those things. And in the end, all 4 managers, including Sandra Love, would plead guilty in 2005. And despite this all, Pedro would still continue his race against Ruben Diaz for his old seat. After making his official announcement in late July of 2004, the Democrat and Chronicle of Rochester, New York simply ran the headline, quote, "Scandal-linked man runs again."
Oh, wow. That is delightful.
Guys, I am not wasting money on a byline on this fuck. Keep it below 15 letters. This pretty much matched the feelings of the folks in the Bronx, too. The campaign was equally as dirty as before, and once again, Diaz would trounce Espada in the Democrat primary, 54-35. Overwhelmed by scandal, facing the lessening respect towards himself and his hospitals, and watching his chances to return to power dwindling, this is when Pedro Espada Jr. took time to look within. His time in politics was over. No one in either party liked him, let alone wanted him. His allies had retired or gone to jail. If he was going to salvage any respect for the rest of his life, it was time for him to buckle down, leave the public view, and focus entirely on repairing the respect of his hospitals, and the respect of him within his community, which is what he did, right, Una? Right?
Just, I swear to God.
Una, please don't tell me. I don't want to read what I wrote. I want this to be done. Una, we haven't even reached the worst thing he's done.
How? Dusty!
In part 3, we are going to talk about Pedro Espada and the coup he attempted. That's right. In 2009, Pedro Espada would be part of a power coup within New York State political power.
That's when I wouldn't be surprised if, like, part 4, someone gives Pedro Espada a nuclear warhead.
No, oh god, no, he's gonna try. Oh my god, Una, part 3 will be the last, because much like the Alan Keyes episode, I refuse to do more than 3 episodes on this motherfucker. It's been bad for my brain.
It's like mercury poisoning. There's nowhere for all this criming to go. Yeah, I have too much knowledge of blatant crime that I would normally associate with, I don't know, say, Southern Europe. Like, not to knock them, but I think we all know it's like Sicily, it's not great. Like, if you throw someone a 20 at customs, you're going to get treated a little bit better.
Yeah, it's really frustrating just seeing this terrible person consistently being given power but it's not like everyone else's choices are better. It's not like they're being offered, like, they tried Reza Castillo, but like there was paperwork fuck ups. She would have been great, but yeah, and best I can tell, like, Adolfo Carrion ended up being a pretty solid politician in the area, at least for the Bronx Borough presidency, which, like we said, doesn't really fucking matter. But yeah, it's really frustrating watching Pedro Espada win corruption challenges in election form, where it's like, oh, the other person's barely more corrupt than me. Excellent. This is a chance.
This is also, like, especially with the knowledge of all of the criminal activity linked to one of the campaigns, like using hospital staff towards their own campaign and everything.
Yeah.
It reminded me, like, we are so overdue for anyone associated with the Trumps. Like, forget, just putting aside the Trumps themselves, like anyone from the Trump administration to go to jail. Like, I need that as part of healing.
Yeah.
I need to be shown that these people can actually be sent to jail if I am going to continue believing in this democracy.
Yeah. Because, like, as much as I would like, I mean, Elliot Spitzer is not a hero in this story. Like, he just found out what happened and did a bunch of shit himself. But in regard to the Trumps, I would love for, like, Letitia James to end up being the hero that we need right now. That would be amazing. Like, make her the fucking governor. Not, that would be goddamn great. But yeah, it's just like seeing some level of justice would be great, because it is so exhausting reading about all these different people in Bronx Democrat politics, and nearly all of their Wikipedia pages end with how long they spent in prison. It's so unfair for the people who live there. And I know I said this on the last episode, but it's that whole myth that you have to be a terrible person to run for politics. And that's really just a grift to keep good people from running.
Yeah. Which I hope is slowly, coming around.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have a friendly Congress. So just nice people of differing opinions and not monsters.
Yeah. Super queer, because they're all millennials and Gen Zers.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
All right. We're going to leave on that dreamy note.
Leave on that happy note. Well, thank you for joining us this week, y'all, and join us next week on Gadfly. If you're gonna grift, leave a paper trail in your basement.
Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?